2, 1. All right, folks, welcome back to the Jimmy O Show with our second preseason, almost time for camp show. We got none other than the Thunder and the Thunder and Lightning, two-headed monster in the backfield, Cam Carroll. Cam, how you doing, man?
And I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. Yeah, we actually, that might be a misnomer. You look at you and Tajay side by side, and he's Lightning and you're Thunder. But in actuality, we were just talking. Clocked most recently at 4.42 in that 40.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so Cam, and those of us who have been watching for a while have known you've had that sort of extra gear. That's obviously elite speed, particularly for a 220-pound running back. So while you might look like Thunder, you run like Lightning. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's fair.
We could go with that. Yeah. And you got some pretty soft hands too. You're a good ball catcher.
Yes, sir. I pride myself on it. My coaches kind of worked with me a lot in high school, so. It wasn't that it was really too much new for me once I got into college, and I just kind of honed in on making sure that I kept those same kind of attributes along with me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's sort of speaking of your high school and coming out. I guess you're from, were you born and raised in Flowood area, or did you just graduate there?
So I was born in Flowood, but when I was younger, my mom and dad actually lived out here in Kenner, and I kind of grew up around the New Orleans area a lot, and then we got relocated to Natchez for Hurricane Katrina, and we were out there for a few years. Then we moved to Jackson. I was out there up until about 5th grade, and then we moved to Rankin County, where Flowood is, and I kind of went from 5th grade on through my senior year.
Okay, got it. Yeah, and there's a lot I want to follow up with there, but the reason y'all were in Kenner was because your dad played for the Saints, right?
Mm-hmm.
Herman Carroll was a Saints player for a few years, and then but I want to go back to that move. We just had Will Wallace on with Tyreek, and I told him I was in Natchez for one night during Katrina. I met my wife. Yeah. So there were a few of us in Natchez during that Hurricane Katrina time. But anyway, so but going back to your high school career, this was sort of the first sign I thought we might have been working with something, not the first sign, but a confirmation of a sign that Coach Fritz might have actually knew what he was doing, because you came in as a recruit and you kind of looked at it as like, well, all these recruiting rankings, some of them give him some love, but for the most part, sort of an under-recruited guy. But I was like, well, wait a minute, you were 210 or something coming out. I mean, you were still big.
Yeah, I was I think 210, 215.
Yeah, could run,
yeah.
Could catch the ball. Like, you had all these skills coming out, and it's like, well, their loss is our gain.
Yeah, most definitely.
And and throughout your career, you've shown them. You've shown to be not only a competent Division I player, but a superior one, somebody who's one of the better players on the field whenever you're there. And so I guess the first memory I have of you kind of stepping on the scene in a big way, I think it was a Navy game, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, is it redshirt freshman year?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we so in that game, we had a stable of good running backs, but we had a bunch of injuries, and both you and Tajay, he redshirted that year. That was your first full year, but y'all both kind of each had 8 carries for 70 yards or something, right?
Yeah, that was a very memorable game for me. Just you bringing it up kind of brings back chills, just kind of thinking about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, man, that was something. You're a big guy. We didn't really know much about you, and you come out and you're running over guys, running through guys, running around, running past guys. I mean, it was like, oh, wait a minute. No. That was awesome, and then things have been great since. And I think back, the go route you catch against Southern Miss kind of give us that was a scary game for about a half a quarter, and then we turned it on. Yeah. But that was probably your 160-yard game there, 3 touchdowns. 2 touchdowns against Oklahoma this past year. So you've sort of had a bunch of big showy moments. 70-yard catch. By the way, they got to fix the website. You had a 69-yard reception against East Carolina, but they say your career receiving high was like a 50-something yarder against somebody else.
Oh no, yeah.
You got to get on them.
Yeah,
man.
we got to fix that.
Get SID right, man. But yeah, no, I mean, that was a tough game overall. Otherwise, but you had a good game against East Carolina. So, I guess you've kind of had a lot of individual success here and there. you've had some team success, but you haven't quite achieved as a team what you set out for, right?
Yeah.
And
Definitely.
and so, but we look forward to next year. And what is it about this team, the staff, whatever it is, that as you sit here right now, you think is going to be the reason that we get where we want to be?
I honestly think it's gonna be a mixture between, the new coaching staff and people actually wanting to step up and be more vocal leaders. So like this spring, this is my 5th year. I think this is my 5th spring, my 4th or 5th spring, something like that. And just the way that the team's chemistry was throughout the spring, and just kind of like the refreshing feeling that it was after such a bad year. Nobody was sure how the spring would go. Nobody knew how the new coaching staff would be, but we all took it with a grain of salt and were like, okay, this is an opportunity for us to get better. And I definitely feel like this spring we definitely took the right steps in the right direction in order to be able to have a great season. And this summer has shown it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, speaking of this summer, I came out for the Surge event and I saw sort of what you're talking about. I mean, just talk in terms of guys competing hard but supporting each other, and just, I mean, the effort level, right? The effort level stood out to me. It was like there was 100% across the board. Nobody was laying on anybody's leg, as we said back when I played. It's just kind of like everybody's there in the moment, competing hard. In the spring, put in a new system. What was the learning curve for you in terms of, okay, new terminology, new plays, anything like that? I mean, how much carryover was it? How much of it seemed new?
So I want to say this is, I think my third or fourth OC, and what I've learned since being in college is a lot of plays we're gonna run the same. It's just gonna be called a different name.
Mm-hmm.
So it was, I'd say, a fair amount of carryover. It was just more so this is gonna be a different blocking scheme, but I can correlate it to this play that we used to run. And then as time goes on, as I get more comfortable with this playbook, I'm able to be like, okay, this is now what it is. And now the memory of what it used to be, I can kind of push back. But in the beginning, just being able to have so many different OCs and different playbooks, it kind of helps just because I can relate it to different things and be like, okay, this is what it's like. This is how I need to do it. And it helps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, it's actually it's one of these out of bad things or turbulent things, good things can come. I mean, talk about transferable skills. I mean, the reality is, I'm sure your goal is to play the next level. You get to the next level, that's going to be the norm, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, guys who play running back in NFL, you might play 3-4 different places in 5 years, and those are big, thick books. And you gotta be able to hit the ground running, jump from scheme to scheme to scheme, and perform, mm-hmm. right? And so that's something you've already sort of got a little under your belt.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of what Coach Svoboda is doing, I mean, do you kind of see sort of a backbone or a base of the offense emerging in terms of what we're going to try to do from a play perspective as an offense? Like, 3rd and 5, we got to get it. This is the play we run. This is what sort of our offense is centered off of.
I definitely feel like we're going to run the ball very effectively this year. And that was shown numerous times throughout the spring. Because, last year we didn't have as much success as, we would have hoped. But this year with Coach Svoboda and, the new O-line coaches and, just all the new coaches, it's been a shift. And, it was like just seeing gold for the first time. Like it was just like everything was clicking on all cylinders. And, it was special to be able to see like how much the offense changed and wanted to change from just a few months ago, where we were 2-5. 2-10, and now we just look like this completely new team. So I definitely feel like this year, everything is going to kind of complement each other. We're going to get the running game going, we're going to get the passing game going, and we're gonna work off each other. But I feel like Coach Sabota definitely has the team's best interest at hand, and I feel like he's definitely going to put us in positions to be as successful as we want to be.
Yeah, we like to hear that from where I'm sitting.
Yeah.
As far as you personally, do you see more opportunity? One of the things I think where you're devastating as a running back is when you're sort of able to put the foot in the ground and then get upfield, get north and south. Because we talked about it, 4.42 speed and all that, but like the other thing is when you're running straight at a defender, you usually got the physicality advantage, right?
Yeah.
And so you can't run a 4.42 laterally, but you certainly can going straight forward. Is there more opportunities you think you're going to see where you get to sort of do that, be a downhill runner into the teeth of the defense?
Oh, most definitely. So, like I was saying, Coach Sabota and the coaches have kind of added, kind of like another notch to the belt to where we're able to play faster, but also at a more comfortable level. So this spring, for instance, we ran, our normal plays, outside zone, tight zone, counter, things of that nature. And just being able to kind of get a feel, I know it wasn't like an actual game, but, we have to treat practice as a game.
Mm-hmm.
And just being able to, like, see how the coaching transpires from meeting rooms to the field. Yeah, it's gonna be a scary season.
Yeah, and what people don't realize probably out there is that the defense has such an advantage in intra-squad because defense by its very nature is reactive. I mean, offense is proactive, and so we had a guy, he knew all of our blocking calls. The other team's not going to know that, right? But he knew all our blocking calls, so I'm going to tell you a quick little sidebar. So, he was jumping. We ran a lot of zone, and he kept jumping our outside zone play like he would over pursue. He would jump into the hole, essentially, because he knew how we were trying to block them based on their front, where the hole should be, and he would show up where he's not supposed to be based on what he's hearing. So we put in a secret call for him one day. And basically all we did was we're running zone, but the tight end, rather than running zone with the tight end tackle, everybody stepping and going the same direction, tight end blocked down, and the tackle made a T block around him and reached him. And I mean, dude, I laid this dude out 5-6 times in a 15 play inside drill.
Yeah.
It was a thing of glory because he just never saw it go. He would hear and he was instinctive. He would jump that and it's like, oh dude, I got you again. You're running right into my lap. But so that aside though, I mean that's mainly the thing. You talking about two all conference level linebackers, Nick and Dorian. You got a bunch of guys with experience up front now. You got guys in the back end with experience. When you're installing a new offense, you might be putting in 5 plays, 6 plays, 10 plays. It's a slow, gradual thing. It don't take them long to sort of figure out and anticipate what you're doing. So, of course, they're going to be ahead. So, for you to tell me, you can see that progress despite that, it's very encouraging, right? So, I guess it's just a matter of we're going to see what happens on the field, but having the confidence that these guys know how to put you in the best position to succeed, it's got to be a good feeling.
Yeah, it most definitely is. Going against, Dorian and Nick every day you definitely have to, mentally be prepared because, we're from the difference between last year and this year is our bond has grown a lot stronger. I know a lot of teams after going through that kind of adversity would kind of, fall apart and point fingers and blame each other. But we all put our heads down and decided we want to get better.
Mm.
We are going to be special because we have the capability and we're not going to let anybody get in our way.
Mm.
So, just being able to have a lot of teammates with that same mentality has ultimately made all of us grow and become closer, but we are able to hold each other to a different level of accountability from a day-to-day standpoint.
Yeah. In my very first show, I had Coach Fritz on it, and we talked a little bit about it. It was coming off the 2-10 season. And, two things stand out to me, not necessarily from that interview, but just how this offseason has gone. And when you have, in today's era where you got a transfer portal and all that, you have an opportunity, if you so choose, as a coaching staff, to make a bunch of changes of your roster. You can turn it over fast. He chose not to do that. And so there's really two things that stood out to me. That we're back with mostly the same guys coming off of 2-10. It shows me that the head guy at least has a strong belief in the guys in the locker room, right? But then the other thing is that where the changes were made, he really kind of made changes on the coaching staff. That was another thing that shows me that, he believes I got the right leaders in place. I got talented guys in place. I need to change the way sort of we're reaching them, giving them a different way of doing things. But it shows me he believes in the guys on the roster. Yeah. Y'all get a sense of that from the head guy?
Yeah, most definitely. After last season, we were all kind of, wondering what the next step would be because we were all unsure after, the year we just had. And then once he started, letting coaches go and coaches just decided to leave, we were all kind of like, well, who's going to come in? And, as coaches began to come in the spring, we were like, okay, I'm kind of getting a feel for them. And, like I said, once the spring got started, practices began, the culture and then like just the overall feel of how things were in that moment was completely different from anything that we felt last season. It just felt like a breath of fresh air, a new beginning. And ultimately, he would always tell us, like, if a coach left or, if he had to let a coach go, I'm going to do what's best for y'all. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm going to make sure that I bring in the right person for you guys because I want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to make sure that you guys are successful.
And with respect to new guys, you have a new position coach, right?
Yes, I do.
And so how's that been? What's been the transition like to your guy?
So my last coach, Coach Fobbs, he was he was a little older, so he was more laid back and soft spoken, and that was him, and as a coach, I've always highly respected him. And my new coach, Coach Sherman, he's they share a lot of similarities and characteristics, but he's definitely more active because he's younger, so he's more active, he's more energized, and he's definitely highly motivating each and every day. Like he's gonna be the same coach each and every day. He's gonna push you. He's gonna, make sure he does what he can to take care of you, but he's definitely not gonna just be like, oh, you're tired, okay, let me give you a break. No, he's gonna push you and make sure, like, if you're in, you have to give your best each and every play because when you think about it, each football play only lasts about 5 to 8 seconds. Mm. So if you can focus, lock in, and just mentally prepare yourself when you're tired for those 5 to 8 seconds, you're going to be better off once we get into actual game situations because then, everybody knows once you get in the game, it's going to be a lot more breaks and, periods where you can rest. But in the grind of it, you have to be able to push through. And I definitely feel like that's something that he emphasizes each and every day.
Yeah. So a quick aside, my receding hairline. If that was not enough of a reminder I'm getting old, or the 4 kids at home not a reminder I'm getting old. Coach Fobbs was on a cover of some magazine with some of the other running backs from St. Aug when I was being recruited. So when we were in high school at the same time, yeah. And so now he's the old guy. It's like, shoot, man, I'm the old guy too. Then we're the same age basically. So yeah. Well, but that's good. So on that front, though, somebody asked me. I was talking to some kids that I coached in baseball and stuff, and they were asking about, what's it? What was it? Why were you guys so good? And part of the probably number one reason, if you looked at our offense, we did some innovative stuff and all that, but we were in such good shape and we were so mentally tough. And what I tell people is, look, you can start a game And if these are Madden ratings, right? Like the other team, like, man, the guy you're lining up against, he might start at a 90 and you might start at 80. But if by play 70 of the game or play 10 of the drive, he's down to a 65 because he's tired, but you're conditioned and you're mentally tough and you're able to stay at that 80, well, you're a much better player. Whatever advantage he had earlier in the game, your advantage is even greater later in that drive, later in that game, right?
Most definitely.
And it's one of the greatest strengths there. I mean, and coaches harp on it, but I don't know that people necessarily think about it like that. But when you try to figure out what advantages teams have, which is the better conditioned team? And that's where depth comes in, obviously. But like, can you, if you're still at your best or very near to your best when you're tired, I mean, it's advantage you in almost every case.
Most definitely.
And so when we talk about depth, let's talk about the depth of that running back room. You know, Tajay, we've had him on. Tajay is a Louisiana guy. I'm partial. I like Tajay. You and he together have been 1,300, 1,500 combined yards, the last couple of years. Y'all been electric, the two of you together. Now you've added some other guys in the room, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
What's Ashad Clayton bring to the table in terms of running back? What's he bringing to the running back room with you guys?
Ashad, he's a special guy. He definitely has, when you look at him, he's not that big, but he definitely has good size to him. He's definitely very solid. But what might kind of get you is, you'll never know with him. So he's a guy where it's like, okay, is he gonna run me over? Is he gonna try to make a move? But Ashad is deceptively fast. Like it's crazy how fast that he can run, and he has his movement is very well.
Well, that kind of reminds me of you and Tajay too, in different ways. People look at you, and they assume this guy's going to try to run me over, and then you run past him, right? Mm-hmm. When people look at Tajay, it's like, okay, he's going to try to out-quick me. He's going to try to make me miss, and then he'll put the shoulder down and run over him. Mm-hmm. And so Ashad's sort of in that same skill. Like, you look at him versus what he does on the field, you just don't know as a defender, which puts the defender on their heels, right? Mm-hmm. Puts you in an advantage because they're thinking, and you're reacting. You're instinctual with what to do. And then, of course, we got some guys returning. I know YG's been hurt. Has he returned yet? Is he still?
Not yet.
Yeah, he's still hurt.
Yeah, he's still dealing with some lingering injuries.
Yeah, and then but Celestine, am I saying that right? Celestine and Celestine. Ivan showed some things in the spring as well. So he's kind of coming along, another Louisiana guy.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be a very good attribute to the team this year, and I definitely can't wait to see what he does later on in his career, because from when he first came in up until now, he's definitely grown a lot. And we work with each other all the time. I feel like that's one of our biggest attributes in the running back room, which makes us so special, is we're able to coach each other, and we're all very coachable. So, instead of just, Coach Sherman or a different coach, coming up to any of us saying, like, you need to do this or you need to work on this, we're close enough and we know the offense well enough to where we can be like, hey, you need to take these steps instead of that, or hey, this is where your eyes need to be, or whatever the case may be. We're able to coach each other and actually help each other. Yeah,
I mean, and being coachable is a life skill for sure. Even when you get out of football, you'll learn. But I mean, that's such a big thing, because everybody, when you come in at the running back position, particularly, you were the best, most prolific player in the field in most cases, and it's hard to humble yourselves, I think, a lot of times, to be like, you know what, maybe I don't know everything, maybe I can get better, maybe this guy has something to say, and maybe you'll listen to a coach, but being able and willing to listen to a teammate helping you get better, that's a special quality that not everybody across this country has, but our room has. Right? Yeah. So, okay, well, let's look around the rest of the offense. Has anybody stood out to you in the spring in terms of, wow, this guy, maybe he's done a little something throughout his career, but there's a big leap coming in terms of production. Everybody's going to know their name by the end of the season, type of thing.
I'd definitely say Shea Wyatt, for one. He's a wide receiver. Throughout this spring, I've just seen him just do, like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's just, I've seen him make fantastic plays. I would also say Rashad Green, Caleb Thomas, and I forget their names. There's so many of them. Josh Remitich.
All the big boys, yeah.
Yeah, I definitely say through this spring, I've seen them take a tremendous leap in the right direction. Not only with things on the field, but wanting to put on extra weight and be able to still move. Like I've just seen those guys take a tremendous leap in the right direction from this spring through this summer. I definitely feel like they're definitely going to be making a lot more noise this year.
Yeah. No, you can see it. You can see it at times. There were flashes last year with Thomas and Ra. Particularly Remitich was in and out of the lineup with some injuries, but it's like, man, they're young, but God, these guys, they got something up front. You can see it. They're more athletic than some not necessarily in your era, but thinking back to all my years as a Tulane fan since I've been going, I mean, we've had some pretty unathletic offensive lines. You can see some guys that, like, okay, we can get to the second level here. Sincere, obviously.
Yeah.
But we can get to the second level. We got some guys that can actually react. Defense gives you, and a lot of times that's the thing with the unathletic lineman. They might be smart, they might know their stuff, but when a defense gives you something that you're not anticipating, a late stunt, shooting into a gap that you're not anticipating a guy, can you get off path and chip him or whatever, slow him down to give the play a chance, And having guys that have some of that athleticism, when you start giving them some experience, you're going to have that, because a lot of good offensive football, and we've seen it throughout Coach Fritz's time here, a lot of the drives break down because of that one bad play.
Yep.
If you just stay on schedule, good things happen, right? We're not, but when we have that incompletion because we drop a ball, we overthrow it, or we have that 4-yard loss on a run play, it's devastating. I mean, when we were gone, 5 yards, 6 yards, 5 yards, you marching down the field and then boom, -4. It's like, whoa, now you're in a hole. And now it feels like that there are guys in place that sort of, number one, can avoid those plays as much. But if we do find ourselves in that third and long, we feel like we have guys that can actually perform the move the sticks, right?
Most definitely.
Does it feel like this is the most depth sort of we've had on the offensive side of the balls in your time?
Man. Yeah, most definitely. I guess I'll start with like the running back room because that's my room. Since I've been here, in the spring and throughout the summer, we might have, I'd say maybe like 6 running backs at most, including myself. And then by the time we get to and through camp, we might have like 4 or 5. I know it's not that big of a drop off, but by the time we get to the spring, it might only be 2 or 3 healthy.
Right, in the spring game, and then like now you playing on both teams and everything else, right, and getting worn out, and that's so good. And then you talk about injury and healthy. I mean, that's been a big emphasis this offseason is sort of injury prevention, right?
Yeah.
So lowering those soft tissue injuries.
Yeah, most definitely. Kurt Hester does a phenomenal job. You never know what you're missing if you don't have it, but when Kurt came, we were all kind of skeptical about it because, we didn't know what to expect really. And since he's been here, it's just been a phenomenal change. I can remember a time where we wouldn't get through the summer without at least maybe 2 or 3 ACLs, 5, 6 hamstrings. And since he's been here from the start of the spring up until now, we haven't had any injuries, any soft tissue injuries, anything. I like, it's honestly a blessing and just a beautiful sight to see because, I know me personally, like I might not be the person who's injured, but I still never want to see anybody go through, any kind of injury like that.
As those NFL guys say, one of your most important abilities is availability, right?
Most definitely.
Yeah, and so I mean that's been sort of some of the best news coming out of summer. Is that everybody's kind of stayed healthy throughout the spring. I mean, for the most part, and now you're telling me through the summer. The other thing I noticed when I saw a bunch of guys at the event I went to in early July was just how many bodies have changed. I mean, guys are just in incredible shape now. Huh?
Yeah. One thing that I've always kind of wondered about was why do we condition the way that we condition? And when Kurt came, he completely changed everything when it comes to that, and he made us more knowledgeable so that we would be able to take care of our bodies better the same way that he wants to. So when he came in, we working on the little things, because the little things will always go a long way. So we're working on ankle mobility, knee mobility, just taking longer time to do active stretches. We're doing yoga. We're doing preventative stretches. We're doing preventative lifts. We aren't necessarily breaking down our bodies every day, just doing excessive running for, just to say we did it. We're not lifting excessive weights just to say, oh, I lifted it. Like with Kurt, he explains why we do everything and how we're gonna do it, because if it doesn't make sense, there's no need to really do it. But when he explains, okay, we're gonna do this lift because this is how it's gonna translate to the field. So his point of emphasis is one, to stay healthy, but also to get bigger, stronger, faster, more flexible, and like you said, being more durable.
Mm. Well, yeah, and Bradley, our producer and owner of the gym, knows their technical terms for these. I don't necessarily know, but there is basically you have a capacity level, right? And when you're pushing it well beyond a capacity level every single day, like you're getting into a zone where you're not necessarily getting better, you're not necessarily getting stronger, you're just really kind of increasing your risk tolerance. So how can I get up to that? How can I be at that level longer, right? And understanding that I can get stronger by I'm not necessarily, I don't need my 3 rep max, every other week or whatever. Like I can get a lot stronger if there's a plan that's in place a little bit longer term. It's kind of taking into account not just the big muscles, but the little muscles and everything else. Mm-hmm. And the thing with you guys, and I like his approach, because look, one of the advantages we got over a bunch of Scott, we got some of the smartest kids out there, right?
Yeah, most definitely.
Dude, listen to any of my interviews. Like, we have more intelligent football players at Tulane than you're going to find in most places. So give you that. Like, and it's kind of like coaching my son, where somebody gives the old school coach saying, well, he's a straight A student. He's a brilliant kid. You got to tell him, you work his mind, use it to his advantage. And I see the same thing with you guys, right? Like, you can take that information and put it to use. Mm-hmm. And so let you do that, right? That's a good thing. All right, so let's move on real quick. Personal life, off the field stuff. So you're in your 5th year now.
Yeah.
What's your status in terms of graduation and masters, all that kind of stuff?
So I graduated in December of 21, but I didn't end up walking until May. Last semester, I kind of just took some classes because, I was kind of indecisive and a little on the back end of applying for grad school. So I took some classes to kind of, see my interest in different things after I got my first degree in health and wellness. Mm-hmm. And I decided now I'm applying for sport administration, the sport administration certificate program, which will go from the fall until the spring, and it'll be about, I think, 4 to 6 classes.
All right, Troy Danny better watch it. We got a new the future AD of the university sitting here with me, and then that's awesome, man. I love it. And then I guess the thing I like to always kind of wrap up with, because if you can't tell, and it's getting late, it's getting close to dinner time for me, so I like to wrap up with food. All right, so
okay. You
heard my questions earlier, but let's go through it again. We go back home. Now, you've been to all parts of Mississippi, and then I know you told me when we talked before, one of your grandmothers, somebody's from where my wife's from originally, the Philadelphia area, Louisville, that whole area.
Yeah, my grandmother on my mom's side.
Yeah, okay. So I know what they like to. I was shelling peas, by the way, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Okay. I was sitting there like, I don't want to get into a long story, but basically I wake up, we're staying with her cousin, and they wake up, it's like, well, what y'all doing? It's like, and they got a big pots of purple hull peas and zipper peas and all this stuff, and they shell. So give me some, and so we're just shelling peas. So that's always a specialty up there. So but if it's one thing, you go back home, you go to your grandmother, whichever one it is, go back home. What's your favorite meal when you go back home?
I definitely have to say my grandmother on my mom's side, whenever she makes like cabbage, lima beans, mac and cheese, cornbread, fried chicken, and I'm forgetting one other side that she makes, but that's definitely one of my all-time favorite.
Yeah, then I get that's amazing. Yeah, I love all those, and that's exactly what my wife and my wife's family cook. So they'll throw in some okra sometimes.
Mm-hmm. The okra too.
But that's some other cabbage. Yeah, that's real stuff. And then the greens, turnip greens, those types of things, all real good. All right, New Orleans. What have you come to love about New Orleans cuisine? What's some of your favorites?
So before I moved to New Orleans, I never really I never would have thought about eating oysters, but char grilled oysters are the absolute that's one of my favorite foods to eat.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just delicious.
No, there's no doubt about it. I took my son to the golf tournament, the Zurich one time, and we had the Acme passes, and the first oyster he ever ate in his life was a char grilled oyster, and he's just like, man, oysters are the greatest thing ever. So he wanted to eat every other oyster. So the next time he was an oyster po' boy. So he ate a fried oyster. So he's just he's on fire, right?
Yeah.
This is the great. So he eventually worked his way to the raw.
Oh, man.
Now I gotta say, he didn't love the raw as much, but he was willing to give it a shot.
Yeah.
Now I love a good raw oyster, but that's an acquired taste, I guess, for some.
Yeah, I haven't went down that one yet.
Yeah, you got to give it a shot. Now, if you get the right combination, the horseradish and the different stuff to kind of give it some kick is always really good.
Okay.
Plus, it got to be really cold. You got to go to the right places for a good raw oyster.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's gonna wrap us up, man. This has been a lot of fun, Cam.
Yeah, it has.
I've enjoyed it, man. Look, get ready, stay healthy, going into camp. By the time people see this, you'll be in camp. Going, I hope, and hope to be able to do some stuff. We'll see what we'll be able to do during camp. Obviously, y'all are pretty busy then, but we'll be doing things throughout the season, players of the week, and all that kind of stuff. I expect to be giving you a couple of those awards at some point.
Yes, sir. I'm looking forward to it.
You can do that for us? All right. Good deal. All right, folks. Well, thank y'all for coming out. Please be sure to check out our website, ftwcollective.com. You'll get information on the new merchandise that's launching, Fear the Wave merchandise. The proceeds for this merchandise is going to go to the FTW Collective, helping give you more shows like this, helping out our athletes, giving them opportunities to promote not only this show and the collective, but to promote charitable causes around the town and the country. And the more you help, the more we're able to give, and the more these guys are going to benefit from it. So please consider checking that out. Thank you once again to Bradley Schneller and the Stack Coaching staff and studios for having us here. And till next time, roll wave.